I'm joined by my colleague, Alex
Hi, and I'm
Jones.
Alex Jones. I'm one of the support consultants with the ABA grant, NEXTGen Policy. And like Damani, I work in the community college system. I'm actually at College of Marin and with the San Mateo Community College District right now, and I serve on the ASCCC CT Leadership Committee as well too.
So I'll just continue by saying that this grant, by the way, there are three partners that are involved with this grant. The lead grantee is NextGen Policy, which is a equity-focused, justice-centered organization that is based in Sacramento, California. They focus a lot on policy, but they are also involved with workforce development programming. The Institute for Local Government is a mission-driven nonprofit that provides education, training, and capacity building to cities, counties, and special districts. And the third organization that is involved is really kind of the glue that is keeping all of this together, and that is the Clover Agency. I think we are joined by the principal of the Clover Agency, Dr. Paul De La Cerda, is on the call, and they are charged with actually project managing this grant and making sure that we meet our deliverables. So together, these three organizations are working to establish a registered apprenticeship hub that will promote the expansion of registered apprenticeships in non-traditional sectors, including K-12 education. When most of us, hear the word apprenticeship, when we think of apprenticeship, we often associate apprenticeship with the trades. But apprenticeship encompasses more than the trades. And in fact, as we've been seeing over the last, especially last 10, 15 years, we've seen a dramatic expansion of the apprenticeship model into areas such as accounting, for instance, or human resources. And of course, we're seeing a movement to expand apprenticeships in K-12 education. This initiative is also focused on making sure that we include individuals who face barriers to employment and make sure that they have access to some of these occupations. And this would include low-income earners, opportunity youth, foster youth, people with disabilities, veterans, and also folks who are formerly incarcerated. The grant funds will be used for the following. They'll be used for providing incentive funds for participating employer partners. So for instance, any with school district that might want to participate in this program and might have a desire to expand registered apprenticeship could work with us, partner with us to provide, for instance, informational sessions such as this, where we can educate teachers and administrators about registered apprenticeship and socialize the concept. The funds could also be used to help set up registered apprenticeship programs. So you can work with us. We will provide you with the technical assistance in designing your registered apprenticeship program. We'll work with the Department of Labor and the Division of Apprenticeship Standards to actually get the program up and running and registered. And then we will also use the funds from the grant to create linkages from registered apprenticeship programs to existing pre-apprenticeship programs, which can provide pools for recruiting talent.
Thank you. And we are partnering, NextGen is partnering with our Bay Area Collaborative in a few ways. So around this sector, we're partnering by, and let me show you what we're going to be doing. They're actually going to provide an incentive for the faculty, staff, and counselors that are participating today, and the link is later on in the slide deck. So we're working on the details together. This is kind of a new venture to have a partner that's going to be supporting some of our communities of practice. But we're excited to work with NextGen. Some of our future topics will include, we've talked about doing an employer event in our sector in the region. And we've also talked about working specifically with unions, with represented employees, and how to kind of get traction with school districts and union represented employees around apprenticeship for future teachers and in ECE and EDU. So those are kind of some of our projects on the design board. And you will hear more about the incentive later on in this presentation. So thank you, Dominique. Thank you, Alex. I think you're on now, Alex. So maybe your Wi-Fi was fixed. We're going to just move forward. Some of these slides, I'm just showing you that they're here. Again, data and that's available for those of you applying for funds. And I have some announcements about funds. So this, you can look at this data page. So there was a news flash on COIA grants and being available. They just came out, I think, John, yesterday the announcement came out. AIF funding came out yesterday, so everyone's busy in February. So I put in links there when you get the PowerPoint, you'll have a live link to these new fund sources. We also have our centers of excellence. Some of you have been asking for updated data. It should be available in April about the education sector. And we're working on a statewide center of excellence document that should be available by April. So those are up and coming. John, you're going to just have to start, I think, when you.
Am I next? Awesome. Cool. I can do that because I've got it on my computer too. Let me get to where I need to go. Newsflash. What's a registered apprenticeship? Oh, there it is. Anyway, most of you have heard this. A lot of you have heard it. Some of you have not, but it's essentially, it's a more structured educational training program that includes working while you go to school and getting paid. Let's make sure we say paid. In California, it needs to be approved by the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, which unlocks the COIA grant, which unlocks lots of other funding in the state. There is an on-the-job training component that is paid. Let's keep saying paid. Those of us who did our teaching credential work and didn't get paid still have the shivers when we think about it. Classroom-based, we call it related and supplemental instruction in California. The feds call it related training and instruction. Same. And then because I believe every teacher in the state, well, not every teacher, every public educator is represented by a local union of some sort. This would be in partnership with that local labor union. And as you can already see and imagine, if we're taking a paraprofessional or a teacher's aide that is a classified employee and wrapping them into a certificated role, there's a transition there that we're all working on right now. So, and it does say full-time, and I know that Kathleen and I were kicking this around. Initially, we don't expect it to maybe have to be full-time. That's not a requirement. If you can work part-time or at a reduced rate while you're going to school so that you can survive and pay your bills and yada, 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 that's good too, because eventually we're going to get people into the system credentialed. So next page. That related and supplemental instruction looks a lot like what we're already doing. That's why we think this education pathway works pretty well. We're not having to change very much in terms of curriculum and the classes taught by the faculty. If you have, certain employers or certain job classifications, say special ed or, any number you pick, can have some specific additional classroom instruction that is tailored to that particular location geographically, usually. A much better understanding of the occupation because you get a slower on-ramp, an easier on-ramp, hopefully, to becoming a credentialed teacher instead of being dropped into the classroom like a lot of us were, and figuring it out real quick. And hopefully by that point, you know that you want to be a teacher. That's good. That will keep you there. We want those classes to count towards a college degree because this career path requires, a bachelor's degree and perhaps a master's degree at some point to continue on in your career. And again, what's the best learning available, whether it's lectures, presentations, exams, whatever. Try to do the what works best to become a good teacher. So this is a good opportunity maybe to rethink some of those lessons and learning opportunities. So, okay, next one. Most of these work processes are built into the national teacher standards, things like that. A lot of this has already been developed, but an apprenticeship does work with that employer to look at what the skill attainment and competencies are required to become proficient. And most employers and most jobs will be the same or similar. But again, there's some flexibility in an apprenticeship to make sure that if you're in a particular occupational area or geographic area where you need some specific training, we can add that. And then you go practice. You learn by doing. You get paid to do that. That's important. I'm going to say it a million times. You've got a designated mentor. We have that a lot. Sometimes it's not formal, informal, but this would be a formal mentor that's assigned to that teacher. And then you've got some progressive wage scales within California and the Federal Department of Labor's rules around apprenticeship. There needs to be at least one increase in your wages during the course of the apprenticeship. So think about that. A lot of times you may, like it says here, you may start at 50%. You may work only 50% of the time because that's what's available. But over the time of the apprenticeship, you need to have some increase in wages so that you can continue to survive. So, and do better than survive. All right.
John,
Next.
we had a question in the chat from Michelle. Do mentors get paid?
I would recommend that they get some sort of stipend. That's generally the case. I was a mentor for student teachers before when I was actually in the classroom. So I think that's a good idea. One way or another, let's try to get them paid also. That's extra work. So it's good.
If you have a CAI grant, that could be one of the expenditures. John, before you get off this slide, we go to the next one. Are the movements to increase RSI funding and increase the amount still moving forward in the state level?
I don't know if a lot of times in the proposed budget, it's a chunk of money for RSI. So right. I didn't dig deep enough. Right now, the RSI funding, so that we can go down that road too. RSI funding is a supplement or an additional funding source to pay for the classroom instruction outside of your regular FTES. So you can either use RSI funding if you can get it, or you can use your FTES funding, your regular apportionment for the payment of the classroom instruction. Right now it's about, I think it's $10.06 an hour, something like that, reimbursement. So, and then the CAI grant is still sitting at $60 million proposed for next year, but we'll see how that goes. We've got till June to figure that out. So
yeah. Well, supposedly we'll get a request for more RSI in the state. Let's be positive.
I keep banging away, and I don't know if that's a priority or not, but
yeah. Okay.
Cool. Next one. And then these are the three different ways to do an apprenticeship. The old way of doing it, some of you know what this level, this old thing that this is my grandfather's apprenticeship completion certificate from 1927 in Richmond, California. His was time-based, I'm sure. It was, you're going to go to work for these number of hours, and you're going to sit in a classroom or do some classroom instruction for a specific number of seat time hours. And when you're done, as long as you're competent and you're proficient. A competency-based program, like it says, it's just based on competencies. You can accelerate more quickly or more slowly through the program, depending on how quickly you're picking up on those skills and competencies needed to get you to proficiency. That also allows for people with, maybe 10 years of classroom experience as a para or a teacher's aide to really just check those things off because they've already done them. They're observable competencies that they know how to do. In a competency or hybrid program where you blend the two together, I like hybrid a lot. I think there's a time and a place to go sit in a classroom and do some classroom instruction. Not as much maybe as we have in the past, but we'll see. I'll let the educators educating people figure that out. You can progress quickly through an apprenticeship But for the state of California, you need to be registered as an apprentice on paper for a calendar 6 months and 1 day. So you can't finish your apprenticeship faster than 6 months. And you know what? That's probably just fine. You shouldn't probably finish it that quickly. There's plenty to learn. So
Yeah.
those are the three different ways. I think a lot of us, lean towards that hybrid program for this particular industry sector. And I like it. I think that's the best one. So that's it.
Okay. And you'll be back. You'll be back with some other words of wisdom. Next slide, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me, and Kathy, appreciate the invitation. Just excited here to share how the Bay Area K-16 Collaborative is working to strengthen the teacher pipeline and how our work aligns with the apprenticeship framework. Luckily, we know this already. Our existing segments and programs have incorporated somewhat of that hybrid model that John was alluding to of competency and time-based model on courses from beginning to end. My name's Agustin Cervantes. I serve as the executive director of the Bay Area K-16 Collaborative, and I'll just cover these slides very briefly and happy to entertain any questions or to connect with folks offline. Next slide. Just real quick, the slide serves as a reminder of how the education sector, is still high on the list of greatest living wage attainment. I believe it's top 5, and despite how much we know that there's a dire need to increment educator pay, it is still high on that list. So upward mobility for a lot of our students in the region is there. The demand for teachers, of course, is high and growing, a lot to meet ongoing retirements, exits from the sector, and particularly in hard to meet areas, PK3, special ed, STEM. And, despite the anticipated student enrollment cliff we are facing, this drop in enrollment, we know it's imminent based on demographic shifts. Our region will need thousands of new TK teachers, aides, and after-school staff to meet workforce needs. I mean, it isn't just a challenge, but an opportunity to build a strong, sustainable pipeline for future generations. And let's just remind ourselves that, as much as we talk about guided pathways, every industry relies on educators. Workforce sustainability starts with a well-prepared teaching workforce, and so this is why we're here. Next slide. This just tells you a little bit about our collaborative. It's a state-funded equity-centered network working across K-12 community colleges, universities, and workforce partners on 3 priority sectors. This includes STEM, healthcare, and education. The idea here is to streamline education and career pathways. Next slide.
Poor Kim. She was
No,
not.
I'm multitasking. I'm multitasking here.
No, Kim, you got this. No worries.
You're doing my
I like
task.
sharing information on our investment framework because it aligns with, many models, including the apprenticeship, and that we're looking to accelerate workforce entry. And we're looking to do so through early college credit via dual enrollment, career exploration, and pre-professional work-based learning, as well as having student supports across education levels and the continuum. Next slide. Real quick, just a visual representation. This comes from the Community College Research Center at the Teachers College at Columbia. It sort of encapsulates what we're trying to build and enhance with the collaborative. We already know that structured pathways work. Dual enrollment and guided pathways have helped students earn early college credit and build that career momentum, right? But it is exciting. What's exciting about this conversation, what I really like about it, is the comprehensive extension of these same principles to teacher apprenticeships. Feel free to review that slide at your leisure later on, and happy to also have some fun conversations around it. Next slide. So why apprenticeships? I love this notion because I'm a big fan of micro-credentialing. I'm a big fan of creating earn and learn opportunities for students. I mean, they certainly provide hands-on experience while students are still in school, right? By linking pre-apprenticeships in high schools to community college actual apprenticeship programs, and then eventually to university and the credentialing programs, we can create a true K-16 pipeline that accelerates teacher preparation. So imagine in high school, we're doing early exposure, career exploration, foundational skills. Then in community college, there's a little more hands-on training and stackable micro-credentials. And once you get to the university, there could be a seamless transition into the real pre-professional work of getting students into credential courses, content, pedagogy, andragogy preparation, and that learn and teach model is all over it, right? You're going from concept to application to reflection, right? And so this approach will certainly help remove many barriers, strengthen collaboration, right, and accelerate to teacher preparation, and really break down the silos among our organizations that are looking to prepare these teachers. Next slide. Here, I just wanted to include some of the resources that the Bay Area K-16 Collaborative is providing to augment and support our pipeline and occupational development work. On the left, you'll see a flyer to a learning series on culturally responsive dual enrollment. We certainly feel that that connection between K-12, community college is one that we really want to make sure is happening the way that can help students augment their exploration of careers, their college-going culture, embeddedness, and also just resolve towards becoming whatever it is they want to become. So I invite anyone who's a dual enrollment instructor or who has thought about becoming one to click on that QR code or share it, and also share it with your network. The one on the right talks on our College and Career Exploration Fund. So it's a mini grant for educators to expand opportunities like site visits to colleges, universities, and with employers, as well as providing maybe professional development for teachers and others. So our next funding cycle for that opens in August 2025. You can scan the QR code to learn more. And I think I threw my email there at the bottom, so feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. I'd be more than happy to work this out with you and to share more about these opportunities. So just as a close, teacher apprenticeships are a necessary step in solving the shortage. Let's get involved. Let's support students. Let's apply for funding, and let's collaborate, all of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Augustin. And all the emails are also at the end too, so you can get a hold of NEXTGen, of K-16, of John, me, and all of our Spotlight folks if you have questions. So thank you so much. And thank you especially to Kim, who's doing the slides now for me, because I totally lost my presentation, but now I have my own slides pulled up. So sorry for my technical lack of knowledge. So
No, it's glitchy.
And thank you, Kim. So just a couple of quick reminders that, we have a lot of their last COE report. We have, as I said, a new one coming out April 2025, which will look at workforce projections past 2025. Our last one went through this year. 20 key occupational clusters, lots of jobs, 29, almost 30,000 annual job openings in the 8-county region in the Bay region. And, I've gotten a lot of questions. Hey, I've heard child population shrinking. Do we still have a need? I see layoff notices for paraprofessionals and teachers. We've got some districts in our area because of our high cost of living that are really struggling right now. Many of you are at those places. But I will remind folks that at the same time we have retirements and we have a political climate that is preventing young people really from looking at entering this field. When you try to dismantle the Department of Education, that kind of says something about the priorities. So I think we have assaults kind of on all levels. We've got folks leaving, retiring. Yes, we have a dwindling child population in some of our districts, but not all. Others are growing. And we've also got a shrinking pipeline. When we talk to the credential folks, credential leads in our region, we have about half of the number of students we had just a few years ago. And that's part of the work that the K-16 Collaborative is addressing, and it's most certainly part of our work. So can you come to any conclusions about all of this? I will guarantee you that we will have a teacher shortage, and we still do, especially in certain areas. And I don't see that that's changed at all. So I don't know. This always happens. We have peaks and valleys. We have inadequate SOC data. Again, when we come out with our new Centers of Excellence report, you'll see things like nannies and after-school care providers and family child care providers are not correctly represented. They don't have accurate SOC codes, so that does skew our workforce down. We have way more people doing caregiving and teaching than we realize. We are a region that's about 20% of the statewide labor market in this sector. So when you look at anything in our region, just multiply that times 5, and we represent about 20% of the labor shortages and the job opportunities. And again, a reminder, we have 28 community colleges and 24 have ECE and EDU pathways. We're number 5 in CT program enrollment. Next slide. So this is pre-COVID data. When we update our 2025 data, we'll have new numbers. Some of the COVID-related data of those years is terrible. Everyone dropped, all areas dropped in enrollment. So we're excited to look at the 2025 data. But at pre-COVID, we were 5th in CTE enrollment in our community colleges, and we address issues of equity. 83% of our students are female, 67% are non-white, and highest percentage in our sector of economically disadvantaged students, 78% of the top 10 sectors. So we are serving who needs to be served in our state in terms of providing job opportunities. Next slide, please. Our role here, we prepare over 85% of the ECE workforce and 54% of the credentialed TK to grade 12 teachers. As TK rolls out, that number is going to be higher because the ECE workforce is moving to TK, and we will have impacted them early on. Again, it's one of the governor's top 4 priorities. What we really need are seamless financed pathways from high school to community college to 4-year in this sector. And right now we have a lot of gaps. We lose a lot of students in the canyons when they transfer, when they graduate, and we need more linked apprenticeships, more earn and learn opportunities. John, take it away with benefits for students. Why is an apprenticeship beneficial?
You get paid. Did I say that enough times yet? Or also, if you're a registered apprentice in California, your fees are waived. Pretty simple. And I know that we have lots of different categories of for people to get fee waivers, but not everybody. And it's a simple thing. And years ago, I thought the colleges had to kind of take the hit on that. They don't. The state of California and the chancellor's office it's a kind of a reimbursement situation. So, except for basic aid districts. So I will separate the 3 or 4 of you right now from that. However, most of the time they can figure out a way to pay the tuition too. So, the pre-apprentices pick up that dual enrollment. That's great for everybody. You get a win-win. That also supports, Kathleen talked about that pathway and making sure our students don't get lost, that they transition from the high school to the college seamlessly or as seamlessly as possible. And they all have those employment requirements met while they're in school, at least that first half. I mean, we're talking about the beginning of your teacher apprenticeship, and they take care of that. And the wages are transparent. You see what you're going to get. It's not, where you can go. So if you're an apprentice and you can see, my daughter's a high school counselor right now, and I immediately showed her the salary schedule. Look, you need to be taking professional development classes right now because look at how much more money you'll make next year. It's pretty simple. So, and again, they work, they go to school, they get supported. I think back to my teaching credential program where I did my student teaching in one district, couldn't even get hired that year for whatever reason. Lots of old people hadn't retired yet, and now I'm an old guy. So I wasn't beholden to that district in any way, and I didn't feel any loyalty. So those employers that are doing this and guiding you along, I think you're going to see more retention. You're going to keep people in place, and you're going to keep people longer than the 10 years that I spent or the 5 years that's average. So that's all the good stuff for right now for the students that keeps it stable and paid. There you go.
Thank you. Next slide, please. And Augustin already covered this, so I just want to thank him for reminding folks that we do have living wage jobs in the sector. In fact, we're number 5 or 6 in providing living wage jobs. Clearly, you need more education in many cases to get those living wage jobs, but we're not all below living wage in this sector. So we've got also lots of entry-level opportunities. Excel, the after school uh, classification of jobs after school, governor's budget had preserved that with an expansion. So hopefully that will survive through the May revise. TK has got money in it. Hopefully that'll survive through the May revise. So I don't see that some of these funding sources from CDE and from other places are going away. Every time you have a pot of money, like 5 million toward this, those are jobs, and those are people that have to fill those jobs. The one thing about Excel, and Joya is going to talk to you a little bit about after school growth. It was for a long time at 75% of median wages. The students were eligible for free after school. Excuse me, 50%, and now it's 75. So it's adding more students to eligibility. And that means more hiring in after school. And those are our students that are getting these jobs. Very often they're community college students. Some have BAs already, but many are entry level. So, and teachers' aides, every time you look at special ed growth in a district, all those students need teacher aides and paraprofessionals. I'm kind of laughing that it's not funny at all, but I think, okay, you think you're laying off teacher aides, but it's a mandate. You have to provide paraprofessionals if you have students with special needs. So they're going to get hired back. It's just we go through this every few years, right? Layoffs, and then they get hired back. Next slide. This just shows dispelling the myths where we rank. When this was run, we were number 5 in creating living wage jobs in our region. Next slide. And just a little bit about the growth in the region. In 2017, we had 1 pathway registered apprenticeship, and Berkeley City College was our pioneer. And we're now up to 28 unique pathways in this sector. At community colleges, and 16 in county office of eds or school districts in the region, and it's growing. I'm doing a handout on who's actually doing apprenticeships in the sector. We're almost done, and it'll be posted on our BACCC website shortly, and it's just for our sector, but it'll give you some, an idea of who the contacts are and who's doing these apprenticeships. And let's see, we know that this is a faculty focused and staff and counseling focused workshop. We know that more training is needed around not only what an apprenticeship is, but what a pre-apprenticeship is, how these need to be linked, what happens in high school, what happens in community college. So this is just phase 1 of trying to provide some of that training through these communities of practice. And then more information on where our websites are and where you can find these resources. Next slide, please. Okay, and there was a recent publication, so I've got it live linked when you get the PowerPoint. State of Apprenticeships in California came out last fall, and it just summarized. It was with Jobs for the Future in the Chancellor's Office. Pretty good publication. Again, reminding us that at that time of publication, of the 97,000 registered apprenticeships, only 10% were female. We are non-traditional apprenticeships now represent 25% of all apprenticeships in California, and we are one of the fastest growing subcategories. So it was an interesting report to read. As I always say, we bring the females. If you want more female apprentices, work and support our apprenticeship programs. And the governor believes that we'll get to 500,000 soon. We're at not even 100,000 yet, so we have some work to do. Okay, next slide. And I think this is you, John.
That's me. Yeah, it depends on how you count the 500,000.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not even sure what the count is. I think, yeah, anyway, we're not going to get there by 2029, but we are actually making a decent dent in that
Yeah.
priority. So here's all your different places to find some money in different ways or support workforce board. Like it says there, we are an HRTP priority for a couple reasons. Labor management and it's needed. So the DIR, Department of Industrial Relations, oversees the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, just so you understand the structure there. That CAI grant initiative at the community colleges, again, looks like it's $60 million for the proposed budget. And again, who knows? That got cut to 30 million last year or this fiscal year. So, but they just released $52 million worth of COYA and AIF funding
And
from the
AIF funds,
DAS.
which we
So
thought was ending. So that was great.
yeah, I think the big announcement with the governor's initiative helped to add that to the bucket. So ARPA and ARPA, we'll see. I don't know how that's gonna happen. And
Those are
I know
federal, right? Yeah.
money and that funding there. And I've got 5 or 6 other people that I work with that have really interesting, good grants from the DOL. But we'll see how it goes. PAYA, I would, if you haven't checked out the Partnership to Advance Youth Apprenticeship, I really encourage you to do so. That's a partnership with JFF and New America, and Irvine Foundation's involved in there too. So there's lots of really good information there about how to deal with and how to work and create youth apprenticeships where you start in high school and finish at the community college or beyond. So there you go.
Okay. And so what we need, exactly like what Augustin mentioned that K-16 Collaborative is working on, which is a seamless pathway. We need more high school pre-apprenticeships linked to community college. We need dual enrollment and middle college courses that students can take early so that they have some of the prereqs and the content knowledge before they graduate. We need linkages with these high demand workforce categories and employers. We have to support our para-to-teacher funding. Some of it has been prioritized as paras who have 60 units or more, and that's not really addressing the paras at the community college level. So expanding that to paraprofessionals that have less than 60 units is important. We want our students to complete our pre-employment requirements so that they're ready to hire when they're 18. We need pre-apprenticeships linked to adult ed for reentry adults. And there's a lot of movement right now around teacher apprenticeships. So two credential apprenticeships, but the movement hasn't necessarily included a linkage from community college and high school. So we need to bridge that gap. Make sure there isn't a big canyon and big drop off of folks who are employed and then suddenly transfer and don't have the same job or can't get into the teacher apprenticeship program. We don't have a formal one yet in California, but many states do. And I would say it's coming. Many states have credential apprenticeships all the way to the credential year. So 5-year apprenticeships for teachers. Next slide, please. And this is JD. Go, John.
Yeah, I think I saw a number. It's over 30 states have that right now, which was more than I thought, actually. I was surprised by that number. So that's a good sign. Maybe we'll get it together. Here you go. This is the big picture. Lots and lots of different ways to fund this. Employers could fund it 100%, sure. And some think that way, but these are government employers, so it's tougher to do that. Department of Labor's got money. The Workforce Development Boards pick up WIOA funding right now, so that's a place to get it. I don't know where that's going to go. That wasn't reauthorized. back in December. So we'll see how that goes. But within our workforce board, there are state funds that roll through there too, which you can kind of see with, employment training panel. The HRTP money isn't necessarily all federal. California Apprenticeship Initiative remains pretty good for us. It's a little granty. It is a grant, but I think they're thinking more about refining that again, I hope. And hopefully we'll keep the strong workforce funding going. I'm going to sneeze. Hang on. It's that time of year, people. Now, then you've got apportionment funding, and that's what we talk about a lot here. We're already teaching these classes. Okay, they're already enrollment. There's enrollment there. There's FTEs allocated. We need more probably, and I know that Kathleen and ECEPs will really yell about that, and that's good. Let's keep yelling about it. But we already get this paid for a lot of ways by our regular funding streams. So that's what we've thought about a lot. Let's not try something new. Let's utilize the courses and the funding that we have. Now, real quick on that apportionment funding, as people are starting to use the student-centered funding formula again, or it's part of our reality of revenue. The Chancellor's Office is doing an evaluation that I'd like to think started in our region. It was some ideas with people here. How do we compare apprentices' success on the student-centered funding formula versus non-apprentices? And our anecdotal data says that apprentices are going to do better on that for completion percentages, for transfer, for wage gain, things like that, certificate completion. And the quick early indicator back from the Chancellor's Office is that they're definitely seeing that the wage gain piece is better for an apprenticeship cohort versus a similar cohort that's not an apprenticeship. So, and as you think about this on your campuses, there's a win there for the student, which is what we want, but also for the college. That's what we're here for. So Montoya funds is also RSI funding. Montoya went to jail, so we don't use that as much as we used to. But he's the legislator that got the funding done the first time. But that's an additional way to pay for classroom instruction as long as you don't double dip. ETP we're working on. The problem is ETP is for private sector employers, and public sector employers don't pay into ETP, so they can't get it. So anyway, so AIF funding, apprenticeship innovation funding for support, will impact positively these apprenticeship programs. The training side of AIF is paid for already because of our apportionment and RSI funding some places, but AIF money we'll add that to this. And again, these are all things that we're relatively familiar with, but not always sustainable. So let's keep doing what we're doing, use the sustainable money as much as possible, and utilize these grants or other opportunities to set up a scalable regional, sub-regional network that allows us to do the administrative side, but let the colleges keep teaching. So there you go.
Okay, next slide. Role of the college, and then we'll get into role of faculty, counselor, and administrator.
Still me. I'm flipping from one to another, so I'm looking to where I'm going. Keep doing what you're doing is the short answer. You're going to recruit them. You're going to work those K-12 pathways, because I think we put a lot of money into those K-12 pathways, and wherever you have them already established to bring education students from the high schools into your programs, keep doing that and maybe increase that. Coding apprentices at the admissions and records level. I've got 3 more questions in my email box to work on that, because everybody does it different, and I'm not an admissions and records person. So I'm trying to collect that as much as possible, but you need to code your apprentices for the ability to waive your fees, and also for the purposes of data, so that we can see that apprentices do a better job on the student-centered funding formula. We need to know that. So figure out a way to code there. You're going to do your regular reports. You're going to do your regular attendance. Again, I think this is an opportunity to rethink when we schedule classes. My daughter ran off to National to get her counseling credential, and that my credential worked because it was at night. I could keep working as long as I could. So let's figure out a way to do that. It's not always, the easiest thing to do, but figure out how to set that schedule up, get those courses in sequence so that you can keep people in the program so that they don't drop out. Figure out the healthcare side, or not the healthcare, the childcare piece. We've got how many percentage of women? A lot of them might have a kid, and they're going to be the one that are maybe watching that child as much more than anybody else. So we're actually using pre-apprenticeship dollars in the building trades to support childcare for apprentices, men and women, actually, in the building trades. We should be doing a lot of that with us. And if you can do that and also have ECE apprentices watching those children of parents in the EDU, now we've got a system. So again, make sure that you don't pay tuition, audits and record checks. A lot of this is stuff that you're already doing, but there are additional things because it's an apprenticeship. Not too much, I hope, but we're doing most of it already. So.
Okay, next slide, please. All right, we're going to get into our spotlights. And we've got some actual folks who are running programs, both at the community college and K-12. And I added some things that those of you on this community of practice can think about: how faculty, staff, administrators, how you support your apprenticeship program. So becoming informed is step one. Thank you all for being here. Make sure you're marketing your apprenticeship opportunities. And as someone that went around and looked at lots of websites last month in our region, I would say that some of your apprenticeship programs are really hard to find. And if you're just thinking about starting one, please work with your web developer to make sure that front and center it says your department, your courses, and that there might be an apprenticeship available and who to contact. Because your students are this word is very unfamiliar to our sector, so it's going to be hard enough to remember the word, let alone search through lots of things in your websites to find who to contact if they're interested. Teach classes that include apprentices. Use your connections with employers. A lot of our colleges and our K-12s have people that work both in one system or the other and with different employers. So those connections are great doors that can be open for apprenticeship placements and to encourage employers to hop on. Especially part-time faculty, very often they're working in the field during the day, either at a school district or in an ECE program. Provide outreach and communicate with your employers, and this takes time. Your CTE advisory committees that community colleges need to have, if you're in a CTE department, should include a subcommittee of apprenticeship employers where you're actually talking about this and promoting some of the challenges and some of the issues that have come up. Identify the apprentices in your classroom. And this is one way that folks can just say, hey, hats off to you. You're an apprentice. You're important. You're both working and learning. You're earning and learning, and you are special. And you give them, attention and identify them. Give them recognition of their status. They are registered in a different system, and they need to have times to talk about what that's like. So lift them. And also recognize that they have employer responsibilities. And so they're not just responsible to their school and their coursework and their education, but their employers are partners in their education. And so some of these responsibilities can conflict. So I'm going to go into our spotlight, and the next slide is going to spotlight Hillary and Leslie from COE. They are a K-12/adult ed entity, and they're going to tell you a bit about their program and share how faculty and staff can support their apprentices.
So good afternoon. So I'm Hillary Dio, Director of College and Career Readiness, and I have Leslie Marley, who's the coordinator, and she is really working on in charge of our EDU pathways and early childhood education. What the ROP is we are a 50-year organization that does career technical education in high schools in the Contra Costa County. We're in 34 of our schools, and we have had success with education pathways, but 2 years ago on our round 5 and round 6 K-12 Strong Workforce Program, we actually were able to expand those. And at that same time in 23-24, we were working with our colleges to look at the CAI grant to say, how do we funnel our students into an apprenticeship program? And nobody wanted to write the grant except for the YM, and everyone wanted to do the work, but no one wanted to be the lead. So we said we would lead the work. And so we wrote with the Y and LMC, Los Medanos College and Contra Costa College, a apprenticeship program, which there's an adult component, but then there's also a component in our high schools at Pittsburgh High School, Richmond and Hercules high schools. So that was first. And then we went and wrote a pre-apprenticeship grant that covers all of those EDU pathways where we are working to get those students those first classes that they can then get their assistant teacher permit. You can go to the next slide. So they're called Planting the Seed and Grow Your Own. Grow Your Own is the apprenticeship, and Planting the Seed is the pre-apprenticeship. And so again, they can start in the 11th grade. They can really start anywhere, but if they start in the 11th and the 12th grade, then they will get some summer on the job training paid. They're getting paid for that. And when they graduate high school, they will have that associate teacher permit with the ability to continue their journey. So again, we have the pre-apprenticeship piece. We work again with ECEPs and then several other partners. So again, we've been at this for a couple of years. And so I'm going to let Leslie go ahead and talk next slide.
So roses are some of the positives that are in our programs. And one of the things that really stood out to Hillary and I when we were discussing what we wanted to talk about today was our collaborations. So our Youth Services Department Intercounty Office is a recipient of a COYA grant. And that means that some of our most vulnerable and most in need of support students or homeless and foster youth students can have this opportunity to do a pre-apprenticeship and really get a good feeling about knowing where they might be going with their career, or like we mentioned, exploring the career in this area. But what we talk about when we talk about ECE and EDU pathways is that we're just going to be creating an amazing group of fantastic kids, students that are going to be better parents, better godparents, better people in general to know and understand how our children work. So that's very exciting for us. We also collaborate with our own county ECE and CPIN departments. That's been wonderful to get to know the Quality Matters programs and other ways that our students can explore life after high school, whether that's an in-home childcare facility or some of the other ECE programs. Hillary mentioned that we started with Los Medanos College as far as dual enrollment. We also work with Contra Costa Community College. So we have two programs, one on the East County and one on the West. The East County is Pittsburgh High School and Los Medanos College. And on the west side is West Contra Costa Unified School District with Contra Costa Community College programs at Richmond High School and Hercules High School. And then, of course, our partnership, Kathleen's done such a nice job in inviting us to so many different things and allowing us to talk about our high school programs. In general, with our CAI grants, we have now it's 20 different EDU and ECE pathways in high schools across the county. This year just started at a continuation school education pathway program to where continuation school students are getting that type of internship and exposure, not the full apprenticeship, but at least some exposure and understanding about what life could be again after high school. We have really hit the ground hard on making ECE programs and awareness for education pathways and teachers. We've had our partners, the YMCA of Bay Area, come and do presentations. We work very closely with ECEPs, and so that our education teachers, our high school pathway teachers, can give this awareness in these really great components of ECE and that our kids have options. And then we have pathways with multiple on-ramps, whether it's the full apprenticeship, whether it's the pre-apprenticeship, whether it's a student that's just taking a class. Again, all of that different exposure, transferable skills to other different pathways, whether it's pediatric medicine, counseling, or other areas of teaching. Again, we're preparing a really great group of kids and a lot of them for our county. Next slide, please. Now, if you're going to talk about roses, you also have to talk about some thorns. And so I will say of the 20 different programs that we have at the county, the different pathway classes, each program is different. That makes it really hard sometimes to do schedules. And so our schedules don't always match up with the community college schedules. So when we're trying to create a tutoring program and a college class gets out half an hour before the end of the school day and kids don't want to stay after, those different types of things. We immediately hit the ground running when we talk about time to implement. I was literally hired, started work July 2nd, and we had a program that year. And so it has been go, go, go. Many of you understand the phrase build a plane as we're flying it. Money for students. At first, it was a Heisman Simons grant from the YMCA. We have great news. ECEPS is going to be helping us with a grant to pay our students for the apprenticeships on their OJT hours that they're doing over the summer. And we're also going to be working with our Contra Costa Workforce Development Board as well with a Measure X grant that we just found out some information about today. So yes, it's a thorn. It's not something that's very consistent. Just so that everybody knows, County Office of Eds usually can't pay students to work with the grants that we apply for. We can pay for sections of teachers, we can pay for contract ed, we can pay for a lot of things, and so it does get a little hectic with that. Our recruitment and marketing, let's be honest, sometimes in certain high schools, education and early childhood education is not the most fantastic, glorious, TikTok-worthy career. And so we have to really work with our staff to keep the recruitment and the marketing up and what the benefits are. We as the adults know what the benefits are, but if we're talking about a student who wants to be a social media influencer versus an ECE teacher, that's a really hard sell sometimes. Staffing. Do we have the right staff that are in place? Do we have community college professors that want to teach high school students? And so we work really hard to try to facilitate and mediate some of these programs and some of these conversations about what the appropriate staffing mix can be with the high school and with the community colleges that we work with. The system flow. Things happen a lot on high school campuses in May. And last summer, we tried to do a summer school class, and we couldn't get kids to get what they needed because May is so busy and June is so busy. Okay, can we get information on a summer school class in April so we can get it done early? And so the system flow, sometimes, Hillary made that really great diagram of these roads. Well, I would think that the roads would kind of twist and turn and be bumpy and kind of go off-roading a little bit because the system flows sometimes get backed up with the way that the systems are in high schools and community colleges. The other thorn is the student support. We want students to feel like that they're prepared to go into college classes. We also want students to feel like that they're prepared to go into the OJT placement. And as they're trying to hurry and finish through, a semester-long college course, they're also trying to be prepared and do a good job in either their internship classrooms, which might be elementary schools or middle schools, but also their ECE placements. And that's about it. So thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Contra Costa, COE. That was a great profile. We've got a few more we want you to learn about to see what tips you can gather from them. And we have about 5 minutes per, okay? So we're gonna move right to Tracy Burt, and it's a self-managed apprenticeship. She'll tell you a bit about it.
Hi, everyone. So we manage our own apprenticeship at City College of San Francisco. It's in a partnership with San Francisco Unified. It's designed to support paraeducators as they're on their way to transfer and earn teaching credentials. This is some of us at our celebration in December. And I will say that I understand why John repeats the fact that it's paid, because people constantly think that it's an internship. So I should probably add to this graphic work as a paraeducator at SFUSD and get paid. So I think that these diagrams and visuals have been really helpful in trying to communicate what we're doing and what it's about. Next slide, please. This is a testimonial from one of our apprentices who's been in our program for 2 years. And we are, let's see, we're recruiting from a few different places, from SFUSD's intern program and graduating SFUSD seniors. I'm going to let you read her thing while I talk. And we're recruiting from our own students, and then we're recruiting from current paraeducators rather, as well as community-based organizations like Support for Families of Children with Disabilities that has a parent mentor program. And so some of the things that Celinda's talking about is we're really into building community. We have in-person professional learning communities about once a month. We have credential programs that come. They do a lot of, it's a lot of processing what's happening, because there's a lot of overwhelming things that are happening, whether it's political, it's the school closures that we thought were going to happen last semester. It's a kid that's having a really hard time that the para is connected with. It's people being asked to be teachers and not being paid to be teachers, which we refer to the mentors. But just an amazing group of really talented, really passionate educators. And so, I mean, I love it. I feel like I've worked my whole career to kind of do this work. And a lot of my work is with next slide, please, with fellow faculty and trying to reserve seats and talk about how we can support these cohorts of students. And so that's a big, it's actually getting much better, but this is the 4th year. So it's an iterative process, I found, to build all the different aspects of the program. So we are about support, love, and purpose. We provide ongoing holistic navigational assistance and transfer support. And that looks like, everybody has my text, and they have our Janet and Carolyn, who are SFUSD mentors, and they can text us whenever. There's a lot of support when students are registering, or actually applying to the college and registering, but it's little. It's like you just give like a 1-sentence link, that takes you a minute at the right time, and the student gets to go forward, because there's just a lot of little places where that process is confusing. We have a blended advising model for courses and cohorted courses. If you can get a dedicated counselor, that's much better. We haven't been able to do that yet. So I go with the apprentices to their meetings with their academic counselor, and then I share the schedule for our cohorted classes and that kind of thing. You've heard about the registered apprenticeship with the mentorship model. So we're registered with DAS. I talked about the PLCs. These are some of our numbers we have. And so I would be surprised, John, to hear if apprentices don't have better overall completion numbers, because we've heard from a lot of our apprentices that they would have left if they didn't have the support of the program and each other. I mean, they're each other's greatest support, because they understand what they're going through, and they they share strategies for working with kids, strategies for working with colleagues, that kind of thing. So next slide, please. So to help with recruitment, I know that's the theme of today. So we have our community collaborations. So we do panels and presentations at the intern program whenever we can. And we're trying to do more of that. We develop materials to do outreach sessions for our own students. And then there's a few faculty that are sort of like, cheerleaders for the program, and they refer people individually. And we have a number of people that have been referred by specific instructors. Then we have current paraeducators. So we meet often with the district and talk about how to outreach to paraeducators. And we're hoping that using our network will keep getting people. And actually we're full right now. Our capacity is 20, and I'm working with 22 or more people right now. So that's about what we can do at this point. So one of our challenges is just fundraising and figuring out how to coordinate and how to have enough support to coordinate all of this. Community members, and we're partnered with Kingmakers of Oakland, a CBO out of Oakland, like I said, and they're focused on uplifting Black males and males of color and supporting males in education. And also it's not just Black males and males of color. It's like a lift as you climb kind of idea. So the idea is really that we provide services for everyone, and we provide support for everyone, and we're a community that welcomes everyone. And that if we serve the students who've been least well served by our education systems and well, then we'll serve everyone well. And so that's the community that we create. People also show a video that we made in class. We worked with our BEMA department to make a video. We also worked, there's a student, there's like a graphic design program at City College, and the students have an assignment to create logos. And so I went and I presented to their class, and then they made logos and then presented them to me. I went back again and they presented the logos to me. And this is the one that all our apprentices chose as the top logo. And then often faculty will offer extra credit for students to attend our information sessions. So those are, I think, what it comes down to really is helping faculty and counselors like understand what an apprenticeship is and what the basics are, and then get passionate about it. And if we know and we hear the stories of apprentices, as well as combined with knowing like what the massive need is and how important teachers are, I feel like we'll get more faculty who are cheerleaders for our program, and hopefully people will just keep, referring people, and we'll have more apprentices. All right, that's it for me.
Thank you, Tracy. 5
minutes.
Thank you. And I'm going to go back to what Leslie said about our sector competing with the job of social influencer. Yeah, it does seem like some jobs are more attractive to young people, but I think that that changes as they mature, and this provides social justice in action. I think we have to remind our young people that if they're interested in social justice, education is social justice in action. So, and they may say, well, being a social media influencer is too, but I would argue that. So, but I hear what you're saying, Leslie. We've got a lot of competing interests, and when you're dealing with younger students too, we're dealing with their parents, and I don't think any of us at the college level or even at the K-12 level has really been aggressive in reaching out to parents and really talking to them about. They may want their student to be a lawyer or a pediatrician, but really their student has in their heart teaching and helping others. So it's we've got to kind of attack it at all levels. Okay, so I'm going to have Alice come up. Alice, you have a Chabot College program. Do you want to give us a quick intro and tell us what's been working for you?
Okay, so we started out with a $500,000 grant from a CAI grant to fund the ECD Associate Teacher Apprenticeship, which incorporates 5 cohorted classes with wraparound supports, of course, no cost to the apprentices. The goal, of course, for the students is to qualify for that first level of employment, that first level permit, the child development associate teacher permit. So our apprenticeship includes the 4 core classes as well as a class in infant toddler care, so they can qualify for working in infant toddler classroom. They also earn our Chabot Associate Teacher Certificate, which is important for the college because it's a metric that's important to the college. And then students can continue on to earn additional units, both in ECD and in general education. And that's the part we're sort of transitioning to now, is figuring out how to take those apprentices and continue them on to the AA degree and transfer level. We work with YMCA of the East Bay, who I know someone else has mentioned today. We also work with Cadango, which is a large employer in Southern Alameda County, and our intermediary with the state is the ECEPs. So we follow the ECEPs model, which is why we have the cohorted classes, at least for the first sequence. So next slide, please. So far we've had 2 cohorts complete, and between the 2 of them, approximately 20 students. Our 3rd cohort is in process. Right now we've got 27 students in that group, and we're going to start recruiting for the 4th cohort to start in the fall of 2025. We've awarded about 20 certificates so far. This was a conversation with the employer. We realized that we had asked them to complete the paperwork for the certificate, and the employer said, well, it's not really important to us. And we had to go back to them and say, well, it's important for us. It's important for the college. So we really need them to follow through on that paperwork. We've had some students continuing on to work towards an AA. We've had them in a smattering of other ECD classes and general education classes. And then we are starting a pre-apprenticeship relationship with Eden Area ROP that's going to feed into this program. And they've been offering an education academy that's been articulated with our courses, and they're transitioning to offer dual enrollment so they can be more of a direct feeder. Very interested to hear about getting money from ECEPs to pay students for the summer. I'll have to investigate that. Some of the things we offer, we do an orientation to the college at the beginning for each cohort. We have them come on campus. We have them meet representatives of programs like the Disabled Student Services, the tutoring program. We have them meet with people from our El Centro Center for Spanish-speaking students. We have them, we give them a little tour. We give them some goodie, some swag, and we found that's really important for 2 reasons. Oh, and we have someone come do a brief orientation to Canvas, the online learning, because the classes are being taught by Zoom and asynchronously. So it's really important they get oriented to that. We offer tutoring. We have the cohorted classes, I said. And then we also do, as they move out of the initial 5 classes, we do transcript review and get an education plan. We do just onboarded a dedicated ECD counselor. So he's going to be meeting with the the first 2 sets of apprentices to go over their transcripts. In terms of recruitment, because we work with the YMCA, they do most of the external recruitment. We do some on our campus. We've got a CTE open house coming up. We're going to be doing recruitment. But our Cadango partner, they wanted to do this program for incumbent employees. So their recruitment is all internal. But we use all of the usual, we have a job fair in the spring that we invite our apprenticeship partners to come to. We also have a professional development coordinator who does a newsletter with job listings every week. So, and she promotes the program as well. Next slide. And in terms of support, I think some of the most important things in terms of supporting the program and the apprentices is you really need to get allies in your admissions and records department, your academic services department, who understand what it is you're doing with the program. You need to get faculty teaching the classes who understand how this differs from our sort of typical students, and in what ways they do and don't differ from our typical students. But the faculty who teach these classes really need to be flexible, and they need to be responsive. As I said, I think it's really important to make the program visible at the college in any way you can. That's one of the reasons we have that on-site orientation and having those certificate numbers to talk about. Try as much as you can to make your college processes work for the apprentices. It's not always easy. As we know, most of our colleges are set up for the typical student taking classes from 9 to 5. We do the classes when we schedule for the apprentices, but we can't make counseling or the library or anybody else change their hours. So we try to see how we can get inroads into that. I also really try to encourage apprentices to advocate for themselves. We point out that they have to be the ones to go to disabled student services if they think they need accommodations in classes. I also encourage them if they have a problem in a class. We have success coordinators who work with them through their employer, but I also really urge them to contact the employer directly. To the instructor directly, and start to build those relationships. So, as I said, we're about to launch our 4th cohort, and we're working on moving them on towards associate degree now. So, and there's room for expansion all over the place. I just have to make sure I can get everybody at my college on board. So, thanks very much.
Thank you, Alice. And we have our final 2. And then I'll make an announcement. So Kim, thank you again for advancing my slides, is going to tell you a bit about Cabrillo College. Just so you know, you've been hearing some different intermediaries. We have ECEPS as one intermediary. Some colleges run their own apprenticeship programs. And Kim's going to talk to you about a Launch Network intermediary program. So
Thank
Kim.
you. Okay, well, in respect of our time, I'm just going to move through. We are part of the Bridge. Oh, hang on. Cabrillo is a part of the Bay Region and invests in developing great educators, also known as Bridge. Our program offers a teaching assistant, 1 apprenticeship registered with both the California Department of Apprenticeship Standards and the Federal Department of Labor. San Jose City College and Hartnell College are our community college partners. San Jose City is our fiscal lead. Education employers like the Santa Clara County Office of Education and Region 5 Expanded Learning Network are also active members of our group. I'm going to move along here. Yeah, that's not.
And can I add while you're doing that, Kim, that this collaborative, Cabrillo, San Jose City, and Hartnell is in, started with CareerWise as the intermediary, moved to Launch Network, and it's the first multi-college DAS registered apprenticeship in this sector in California. So, and other colleges can join now because it's registered and Launch Network is the intermediary, and it's launching. So go on, Kim.
On the left-hand side, you'll see we have our implementation grant for teaching assistant, and we also have an ECE planning grant. And then we have our apprenticeship team, and I'll let you go ahead and read through those names. It looks like a large team. Everyone is working part-time on these grants and working really and they've given so much incredible effort and goodwill. If you look on the right, you'll see here are some ways that colleges can support apprenticeship. And we know that administrators need to kind of help us open the door. We can't all do it on our own. We need employers and community orgs to know about us. And so it takes everyone to be talking about us and to have enough information to start to share and get the excitement going. We had a BACCC RJV grant in 2020, spring 2024, and that helped us to bring on more faculty, more academic counselors, and that was really, really terrific. And some of them are on the call today. Program staff, we want to make sure that those relationships and the communication are being cultivated throughout within our own college and also between our community college partners and education and employer partners as well. So that program staff person is really key. They're also providing monitoring and evaluation support and help to coordinate the outreach and recruitment planning. Something that the Launch Network, our intermediary, supported us with is marketing collateral. So Justin Susie with Launch Apprenticeship, we sent over a couple of samples to help us get going with our recruitment flyers. So that kind of collaboration really essential. Faculty, I endorse everything that Alice was saying. We need faculty who are flexible, understanding, responsive. Fortunately, Cabrillo, we have the faculty and academic counselors as a part of our team who are helping to ensure that all students, especially apprentices, get the support they need. I also wanted to make sure that Motoko Nakazawa Hewitt, who's here with us today, has just a couple of comments on her role as academic counselor. Motoko?
Yes, hi, my name is Motoko Nakazawa Hewitt, and I'm an academic counselor at Career College, and I'm a liaison for ECE EDU apprenticeship program. I have been doing this a few years. Our great counselor who retired, Eva Acosta, taught me and trained me. So it's a big shoe to fill, but I'm still learning and about this field. I do see prospective students. I help them, the ed plan. And also I go to the classroom, education classroom, to talk about the education teaching pathway, how to be a teacher if they're interested in that the pathway. We will also look at the data of the students who are currently taking education courses and maybe particular math course they're currently taking. So we're trying to reach out to those students to see if they're interested in teaching in the future. So my role is a liaison. So I will see students when they come in, and also our counseling team will refer those students to me if they see any students interested in teaching program in the future. So my role is very small in this, but I'm very excited to be part of this team and grow at our college. Thank you to Kim.
Thank you, Cabrillo. Now we're going to move finally to Berkeley City College. And Berkeley, Joy, are you doing the slides or is...
I couldn't tell. I tried to help Kim. Are you seeing my slide right now?
I'm seeing somebody's moving the slide, so not me.
Do you see Berkeley City College up?
Yep.
Okay, so hello everyone. I know we are out of time, but I just wanted to quickly echo my colleagues and let them know that the YMCA of the East Bay is across 4 counties. So that's why you keep hearing their name over and over again. They were one of the first to start apprenticeship. So many of the things that my colleagues have shared is similar to Berkeley City College programs. And I gave you the model that was helped and collaboratively designed by ECEPS and the Y, and just letting you know that we start off with our small learning communities, as we know at the college discourse level, and they take all their classes together. However, there are challenges as it relates to scheduling and the pieces that you heard early on. We do tailor our approach. The Berkeley City has been doing this since 2017, first CAI grant in 2019. So depending on our partners, determine if our classes are at night, in the mornings, what their pathways look like, how that looks as it relates to their enhanced supports. It's a capacity leveraging system of who can do what best, who can provide the childcare, who can provide their laptops, who's quick in getting it, because some of our systems, we get bogged down with such items and needs. It is all about strong community partnerships. You have to have value alignment. I love how my colleagues say I hit the ground running. Usually that's typically how it happens because you get funding and you got to make it work. And you're learning a lot about the different partnerships and their limitations and their strengths along the way. But the glory of this all is just having these wonderful apprenticeship students who are matriculating, getting raises, getting paid. Their children are seeing them and they're getting to graduate with industry certification. And then what's nice is because we've been doing this for so long, our recruitment looks like word of mouth. They say, hey, you got to go to this apprenticeship program. And so they come back to us in many facets. They come back as mentors. I even have some children taking our classes of some of our apprentices because we have 70 youth apprentices. So we started off with like 15 or 10 students in our cohort initially back then. Now we have full-fledged classes. We have 40. So it's definitely an enrollment enrollment, recruitment, increase for your programs. It's not just about ECE and EDU. You really got to build relationships with your general ed faculty because you know our work requires degrees. You got to unfragment your systems and really work closely with what we talked about, student accessibility service. So I won't repeat all of that because you heard a lot about what that is. Many of the designs and lessons learned comes from their voices. So we continue to tailor and enhance and to work collaboratively with our colleagues to make it beneficial. And this is a lot of wordiness on our slide, but this just breaks down our program. And I will let you guys read that later, but just know we have 3 tiers. We even work with the BA because BA from Head Start is required and they come back and take the classes they need for transfer. If they didn't get their transfer degree as an incumbent worker or when they were in, matriculating through the Tier 2 program, which is our AA degree. Again, we have partnered with all of the grant funding you heard about on this webinar. We've touched in some way. We were the first PIA recipients. We had a pilot with Castlemont High School. So many of the work that shaped some of the youth or the pre-apprenticeship policies was through that 2019 collaboration with Castlemont High School in our area. PIA, Strong Workforce, Perkins, CAI. We got COIA funds right now for OUSD. So it touches some part of our program. It's definitely not something that the college can fund entirely. And this is just a quick 3-minute video that you guys are welcome to watch. Our latest apprenticeship is Girls Inc. of Alameda County. It's an expanded learning, which is out of school time, before school, after school programming, kind of said that backwards. But it's like 2:06. So Kathleen, you let me know.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay, so
Joya, I mean, it's okay. Part of the problem with my technology issues ate up 5 minutes, so I apologize.
Okay.
I want to lift your extended learning project because it's the first apprenticeship in extended learning in California, and we should have these everywhere based on the numbers of extended learning workforce folks we need. So Joy, how is it going? How is it going?
It's incredible in the sense that our employer partner had a serious workforce crisis when we first was partnering with them. They had like 30 openings and they were able to fill those openings to the point where now they can refer those who are interested to other employers. So it is a very effective workforce strategy to address your workforce needs. However, this is a population that has turnover. In good ways and bad ways, because they're still staying in the educational field where they're going to become paraprofessionals and other types of educator. But it is hard to see them go. But I will say that we have completers, and we just started in 2023. We have success coordination. We have academic success coordinating. And there's a lot of lessons learned from me coming from my early childhood background, seeing what the out of school time, after school workers need. Those classes are during the day, when typically our classes are at night. And they also need a lot of GE classes up front because they're aligning, that pathway aligns to the paraprofessional exam. And so just, how, and then they don't require industry certification, but they have these wonderful competencies that are beautiful and is supplemented through the employer training. Our employer is just amazing. Girls Inc. of Alameda County is a joy to work with. And I would encourage you to just watch the video if you guys can, because it really features our apprentices and Girls Inc. talking about the program. And many of the support services offered are funded through our sector intermediary, which is ECEPS. And then also the college, we have a little bit of strong workforce funding for academic success coordination. But we have tutoring, everything that makes wraparound services powerful for them to have success. I feel like I'm rushing, saying a lot fast, but I do encourage you to reach out if you have questions or clarity needs. It feels really good to have more colleges in the game and have, this visible. Kathleen, you've been in this for a long time too. So we're stronger together. And so thank you for the opportunity to be with you all this afternoon. And I look forward to continued collaboration.
Thank you, Joya. And Joya represents Berkeley City College, which was the first to jump into apprenticeship. And now you have 5, 6 pathways? 5?
Yeah. It's grown a lot.
Yeah. And based on the state funding, I'd say the TK, teacher aide, and after school worker is going to be the fastest growing, probably throughout the state. So Joya's already jumped in those waters and can give you some tips, like everyone else, all of our folks. So we are at time. I this is our contact info in the next slide. And can everyone see it? Okay, I'm not sure who's controlling this anymore, but thank you to everyone who's helped me with my challenges. And this is our contact info, our emails, etc. And finally, we did talk about an incentive, so I'm putting a link. We still have quite a few people on the call here. There's a link to an incentive form that NEXTGen Policy will be providing. So we'd like you to fill this form out, and it comes to me, and I'm going to also outreach some folks. A few people dropped off about 10 minutes ago. I'll do outreach to them. And please, my panelists, fill this out. You have shared so much of your heart and souls with your program, so fill this out. And we will forward it to NEXTGen Policy. So to everyone who's been with us, we will get a recording link and the PowerPoint. I'm not sure what shape this recording is going to be in, because I've got 5 AI recordings going on right now. My AI recording, and I think that bumped me off of the recording. So we will get some kind of recording, yes. And that gets all of the recordings and PowerPoints are on the BACCC site. And I put that out pretty regularly, but I can also do that link again. We post those about a week after any of our communities of practice. So I will put that link in. And at this point, panelists, spotlighters, do you have any last words of advice?
Be strong, you got this. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Okay, so be strong, you've got it. And you're right, it is worth it. I'm going to drop this link in. You've got the link. And let me hang on. I'm going to drop my project website in the link, and that has the recordings and the PowerPoints. It takes me about a week to get the recordings back. And you can just email me. My email is all over everything, so you can email me if you need, information. And here's it's going in here. Hang on. I'm going to just say thank you all. Any final words? Thank you to my participants. Thank you to everyone. Thank you for spending Friday with us to learn more about Apprenticeship 101. Thank you to John. John, are you still here? I think John's still here. I think he had a 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Thank you so much, John.
I have some confetti today.
Oh,
I'm going to go stand and stare at the sun.
Okay.
Something.
Yeah. It's the weekend. So all of you have fun. Thank you so
Ciao.
much. And
Thanks, Kathy.
okay. Thank you, Spotlighters.